Hello there guys, and welcome to this Explain 11 video. Due to popular requests, today we're going to be doing a full tutorial of the Flight Factor A320. For the purpose of our tutorial today, we're going to be flying American Airlines service from San Diego to San Francisco in the United States. A little bit of information about our flight today. We're going to be flying at 38,000 feet. The flight time is 1.5 hours, and we will be carrying approximately 8,000 kilos of fuel. So without further ado, let's get to it. Let us begin the preparation by setting up the ground power unit, passengers, fuel, and cargo. To do this, we're going to head over to the iPad here, and we're going to correct the ground power unit, and we're going to summon the fuel truck, passenger, and cargo trucks. Head over to fuel, and we're going to set the fuel to about 8,000 kilos. It's about right. Set. We'll set the passengers to 2/3 and say set, and head over to cargo. Okay, and let's go ahead and set our cargo. So we'll just add some cargo to the aircraft. Alright, we're flying light today. And set. Okay, so we can now remove the ground power equipment, including the fuel truck. We'll set the chocks, and everything here is okay. Let's go ahead now and begin the power-up procedure. Battery 1, battery 2.
United 127, monitor tower 118.6, bye-bye.
186, 127.
External power is available. And we're going to head over to the ADIRS now and set it to nav mode. And fuel pumps. Next, we move to the emergency lights, and we're going to arm the emergency lights. And non-smoking and fasten seatbelt signs are on. Now we're going to move down here and begin programming the MCDU. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go to initialization. And we are going to be flying from San Diego, which is Kilo Sierra Alpha November. And we're going to be heading to San Francisco, which is Kilo Sierra Foxtrot Oscar. Stick that here. Flight number today is American Airlines 3526. The cost index is 25. And the cruise altitude for our flight, according to the flight plan, is 38,000 feet. Align IRS. Now we're going to go to the next page here, and we're going to click on Wait Request, and that should set up all our fuel information. Alright, now we're ready to enter the flight plan. So we're going to go to Flight Plan, and we're going to select San Diego, Departure. We're going to be departing runway 27 today through the Coord 2, and the transition is the LAX Lima Alpha X-ray, which is in Los Angeles, and we're going to click on Temp Flight Plan. Now we can scroll down here. There's one waypoint we need to enter before we actually hit the star into San Francisco, which is the Mike Quebec Oscar. So Mike Quebec Oscar, Mike Quebec Oscar, and then it is our star into San Francisco. So we're going to select San Francisco, arrival, and then we're going to select our arrival runway, which is ILS 19er left. And this is through the Bravo Sierra Romeo 3 star. And we're going to say enter. And we're just going to take a look here. Everything is looking okay. We have a few discos there that we need to take care of. So the manual is normally, this is where you get the vectors to final from ATC. But since we don't have ATC, what we're going to do is we're going to clear this here and then clear the disco. Okay, and now we're going to say insert, and now the flight plan is complete. Alright, let's go ahead and check our flight plan real quick. We're going to switch to plan here, and let's just do step through and take a look, make sure the path looks okay. There is a disco here, so we're going to clear that. Insert. Now it's okay. And the rest is looking perfectly okay. Alright, switch back to flight plan, and now we're going to head to performance. V2 is 134, V rotate is 130, and V1 is also 130. Okay, the flex temperature is 68. And what we're going to do we're going to wait for the flaps to set the flaps and trim settings until after we start the engine, because we're going to need the center of gravity information from the fuel prediction page, which isn't available while the engines are not running. So we're going to hold that for a moment here, and we're going to now set up the altitude here to 38,000 feet. A couple of points for those of you who are new to flying an Airbus, and particularly those who are accustomed to flying a Boeing airplane. On a Boeing, you have the LNAV and VNAV. In an Airbus, the LNAV and VNAV are those buttons here. If you see those dashed lines, it means you are in LNAV mode. If you see the actual heading reading, it means you're in heading select mode. And the same thing goes for speed. If you see those dashes here, it means you're in VNAV mode. And if you see the numbers, the actual speed written here, it means you are in speed select. So this is the difference in an Airbus versus a Boeing in terms of LNAV and VNAV. They function in exactly the same way, but this is, I thought, an important point for those of you who are newcomers to flying an Airbus. All right, we're going to cover the throttle here and how to activate the autothrottle later on before we depart. Let us go ahead and grab the altimeter real quick. And to do this, we're just going to use the X-Plane local map here. Altimeter is 3001. 3001. There we go. 3001, and we need to do the same thing here. 3001. Okay. Switch this back to ARC. And the next thing we need to do now is power up the APU. So before we do so, we're going to head over to the overhead panel here, and we're going to test the APU. Engine fire test. And all checks okay. Okay, so we're good to start the APU. Master switch is on. And we'll start the APU. We can monitor the progress of the APU here, and once it reaches about 100% here, we'll be able to turn on the APU bleed. And as you can see now, the APU is available, and we can start the APU bleed. Alright, we don't need the external power anymore, so we're going to turn off external power. And we're going to come over here and dismiss the ground power unit. And we're going to make sure our parking brake is set, and we're going to remove the chocks. And now we are ready to plan the pushback. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the beacon, and let's go ahead and set up our pushback. Right, we're going to push the aircraft back all the way to this position here.
Ground to cockpit, plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
Alright, we're pretty much ready for pushback now. Everything is set and looking okay. The doors are closed. Parking brake is set. The APU is running at the moment. So let's go ahead and call the pushback truck again. Start push.
Ground to cockpit. Tow is driving up. Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect. Tow connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Parking brake released.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
And we have received our clearance to start the engines. So we're going to head over here and set the engine mode selector to start. And now we can start the engine number 2 first. And we have a good start on engine number 2. We're going to go ahead and start engine number 1.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Alright, and we're going to set the parking brake here.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
And we have a good start on both engines. Engine mode selector back to normal. And what we can do at this point is head over to the fuel prediction page. And as you can see, we have the CG set at 29.6. So we're going to head over to this sheet here and look for 29.6, which is about down right here, 29.7. That's close enough. And we're going to go back to performance. And we'll select 1 and down. So 0.3 down. We're going to stick that there. And now we're ready. We need to set our trim. It's about right. And now we can change this back to flight plan page. This one to performance page. Everything else is set here. Let's arm the
Tow is
speed brake.
Disconnected and bypass pin has been
Flaps
removed.
1 for
Hand
departure.
signal will be on the right. We'll see you next time and have a great flight.
Okay, transponder. Let's go ahead and clear that, and we're just going to put 2000 for an IFR flight. And the lights now. We can turn off the APU bleed and APU master. Nav lights can go to the on position. And taxi lights. What else is there? Everything's looking good here. We are ready to taxi now to the runway. We need to set the auto brake to max. Test configuration. And everything checks okay. So we're now ready to taxi to runway 27 in preparation for our departure. So let's release the parking brake and let's taxi to the runway. We are now at the hold short point for runway 27. I'm going to set the parking brake. And we're going to do the final preparation for takeoff. Runway turn-off lights. Landing lights are on. Nose is takeoff. Strobes are on. Nav lights on too. And everything else is pretty much ready for departure. A few tips for Boeing pilots or those of you who are new to flying an Airbus. The Airbus works in a slightly different way when it comes to activating the autothrottle. At takeoff, what we're going to do is we're going to set the power lever to the flex position here. Now you'll hear 2 clicks once the power lever reaches the climb position here, and the second click when you reach the flex point here. Once the aircraft is approximately 1,000 feet above ground, you can retract the power lever to the climb position, and that will activate the autothrottle. So this is very important because it's quite different from how a Boeing aircraft is operated and how the autothrottle is engaged. We are now ready to go, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to release the parking brake and just give it a little bit of power and line up with the runway.
Approaching 27. On runway 27.
Alright, so we're lining up with the runway now, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to give it a little bit of power here, about 50%. First click, second click. Alright, now as you can see, Manflex, TOGA, Manflex SRS, and runway. That's the famous phrase said by pilots. And we're going to wait for our rotation speed. That's V1, and rotate. And we have a positive rate of climb. Gears going up. We're going to begin our turn now. And flaps are going up. And we're going to continue to climb. Alright, once you see the lever climb blinking, it means it's time for us to move the power lever back to climb. Right there. And now the autothrottle is engaged, and we can also engage the autopilot. As you can see, thrust climb now. And it's going to take us to 250 knots since we are still below 10,000 feet. Okay, a few things to do here. We're going to disarm the speed brakes, and we're going to head over here, and everything's looking okay. The transition altitude in the United States is 18,000 feet, so we don't expect to change the barrel reference to standard until after we pass 18,000 feet. And we now climb steadily. Everything's looking okay. And we're coming up now to 10,000 feet. There we go, 10,000 feet, and we can get rid of the landing lights now. And everything else is looking okay. We have now reached our restriction of 12,000 feet, and as you can see, the aircraft has leveled off at this altitude. We're going to maintain 12,000 now until we are clear of this particular section of our flight, and then we're going to begin to climb again to 38,000 feet, which is our final cruising altitude. As you can see, we have begun the automatic climb to 38,000 feet after clearing our restriction of 12,000. And at this point, I'm going to let you guys enjoy the climb, and I'll check back with you as soon as we level off at 38,000 feet. Welcome back, guys. We are now cruising at 38,000 feet, which is our final cruising altitude for this flight. And by taking a look here at the cruise page, as you can see, we are about 135 nautical miles from top of descent. At about 90 nautical miles from top of descent, we'll begin programming the McDo for our approach and landing into San Francisco, runway 19er left. One thing I did that was probably edited out of the video was setting the barrel reference to standard here and here. So make sure that at 18,000 feet that you set the barrel reference to standard. Everything else is okay and per design intent. There are no issues at the moment, and I'm going to let you guys enjoy the flight, and I'll check back with you at approximately 90 nautical miles before top of descent, where we will begin the programming we must do for our approach and landing. We are now approximately 97 nautical miles from our top of descent, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the next phase here, which is the approach phase, and we're going to bring up our flight plan. We're going to head over to the weather tab here in PFPX, and by the way, you have the same information if you use SimBrief, so it's really your choice. And we're going to take a look at the weather at the destination, which is San Francisco. Altimeter is 3006, so we're going to enter 3006, and we're going to grab the temperature at San Francisco, which is at the moment 14 degrees, and the winds is, let's see here, we have 9 knots at 130 degrees. 130 and 9 knots wind. The transition altitude is 18,000 feet, and we're going to do flaps full for our approach today, so we're going to enter 141 for our VAT, and we need the decision height. And if you look at the approach plate for San Francisco runway 19 left, you'll see that the decision height is 282. So we're going to enter, oops, sorry about that. We're going to put 282. There we go. And now everything is configured for our approach into San Francisco. So at the top of descent point, we're going to, about 30 nautical miles from top of descent, we'll reset the MCP altitude to 5,000, because if we look at our plan here, you'll see that we have a, I believe a restriction. No, we need to be at 5,000 right here, and then we're going to descend to about 2,800 feet, which is our platform altitude for this flight today. So at about 30 nautical miles, we'll reset the MCP altitude. At the top of descent point, we will begin an open descent to 5,000 feet, and once we clear Berks, we're going to descend to 2,800 feet, which is our platform altitude. So I'll see you guys in just a little while. Welcome back, guys. We are approximately 30 nautical miles from our top of descent point, as you can see here. So we're going to go ahead and reset the MCP altitude to 5,000 feet. And in about 20 nautical miles or so, we're going to begin the descent. We are now 9 nautical miles from the top descent point, and this is close enough for us to begin our descent, so we're going to go ahead and begin the descent now. And as you can see, the aircraft has now begun the descent. A quick check on the progress of our descent. We continue to descend steadily to 5,000. We just passed the transition altitude of 18,000 feet, so we're going to set the barrel reference now to, how long, QNH, to 3006, and we're going to do the same thing over here, 3006, and that is set. And we continue the descent now to 5,000 feet. We're looking okay, and I'll check back with you at 10,000 feet. The MCDU speed now has been set to 250 knots as we approach 10,000 feet. So what we're going to do is we're going to extend the speed brakes so that we can help the aircraft reach 250 knots quicker. As you can see, this is runway 19 left. Right, that's close enough, and we can now retract the speed brakes again. And we are approaching 10,000 feet. Alright, and we are now at 10,000 feet. We're going to go ahead and turn on our landing lights. We have just leveled off at 5,000 feet, so what I'm going to do now is we're going to reset the MCP altitude to 2,800. There we go, that's 2,800, and we're not too far from San Francisco now. And we're going to also now turn on the landing system. I have now decreased the range here to 20 nautical miles so we can see what's going on. This is the runway 19 left at San Francisco. So we're going to come all the way here, make the turn, and intercept the ILS and land. At this point, we're going to begin our descent to 2,800 feet. And we're going to click here on the localizer. And as you can see now, the approach phase has been activated. And we can click now on the approach button. And we're going to engage autopilot 2. The visibility is less than perfect here at San Francisco. Alright, and at this point we're going to go ahead and extend flaps 1. And we're going to go to flaps 2 and lower the landing gear. Of course, since this is an Airbus, we don't really need to worry about the speed since we are in the managed speed mode. And now we just wait for the aircraft to reach about 500 feet, and then we will switch to manual. We'll turn off the autopilot and we'll take over the aircraft and land.
1,000.
Alright, 1,000 feet. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and disengage the autopilot, but first we're going to set the auto brake on low. We're going to arm the speed brake, and we're going to turn on all the lights for landing. And now we can go ahead and...
Approaching 19 left.
All is good. And let's go ahead and disengage the autopilot. And it is my plane now.
$500. 400. 100 above. 300. Minimum. 200. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, retard, 5.
And reversers are out. And welcome to San Francisco. All right, let's go ahead and make a stop right over here. All right, set the parking brake, and let's go ahead and take a look at our landing. Well, our landing today wasn't really a bad landing considering the circumstances. Let's go ahead and turn on the APU master and start the APU. Okay, the APU is now available. We're going to go ahead and turn on the APU bleed. Alright, and parking brake is set. We can kill the engines now. Well, folks, this brings us to the conclusion of our video today. I hope that this was an informative and useful video. If you have any questions, please do post them in the comments section below. I'll try to get to them as soon as I can. Until next time, please take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you all very soon. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.